Oh, that's right. We're still here for a game.
Yes, we're still here for one more.
All right, quiet on the set. You ready, Miss Trudy?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yes,
Miss
she's ready.
Trudy,
She's, yes,
can you hear me?
You ready?
yes.
All right,
Yes.
smile.
Smile.
Try to recenter yourself again,
And,
Jerome.
and this is good evening.
All right.
That's what I was trying to- Go ahead.
Keep in mind what
Is
you're
that
looking
better?
at is slightly delayed. Yeah, you're like perfectly centered.
Got it.
So your actual movement is about a second
Your
behind
actual
what
movement
you
is
see.
about to step behind.
That was a very
Right.
good segment you just did. Since you were breaking up, so I hope it'll be the air of this.
Just because we started over.
That was a very good. I didn't know the cookies were that. I knew that they had to make money, but people don't. But I didn't know they were so
You ready, Miss Trudy?
small. Is that really fun?
Miss Trudy, you ready?
Mr. Shorty, you ready?
I'm ready. I was born ready.
That's how people fool themselves.
All right, smile. We're about to go. And 5, 4, all that stuff.
Uh-huh.
Hold
Uh-huh.
up. Hold up, hold up. It'd be good if I turn the sound on, right? Yeah, hold on.
So true. You just said this. This means ramp it up.
Yeah.
This means 30
Yeah.
seconds.
Yeah.
And then
And
I'll
this
give you
means
All right,
get
hold
the hell out.
Okay, you ready? Quiet on a sec.
Oh, this means
Quiet. Quiet. Quiet.
I
Shh.
come from the old school.
All right. And 5, 4. Hold on.
Oh, I can hear from him this whole long. Well, good evening. Welcome to Trudy and Friends. And it's nice to have you back with us as usual because we're going to be talking about something very important. And what is it going to be? It's going
the
to
unemployment.
be we're going to be talking about
And,
unemployment.
and cut. We're going to start that over.
I thought it goes to the beauty pageant.
Cut. We're going to start that
Okay.
over.
All right, hold on.
Where is your notes?
Unemployment rate.
Where are your notes?
Here.
I don't know. We've written so many things up
No,
there.
that's why I got my own paper, Richard. You got your stuff.
Unemployment.
That's
I
your
got
file.
it.
Right.
Use a
I had
highlighter.
written over it.
Use a
I
highlighter.
had written over it.
Let me know when
What
you're ready.
about what? Well, he went way back. So, I was going to say,
No.
No. Let me finish with this.
It's your hoodie right here.
Let me know when you're ready.
She's ready.
All right, here we go. And 5, 4.
Right? Good evening, and welcome to Trudy Haynes and Friends. Kathy Lee, our original Kathy Lee, Jerome Roberts, the Philly Gator, and today We're very happy to welcome back Gary Williams with the subject tonight, the unemployment rate that's existing all over the country as well as right here in our own community. And it's a bad one because I'm confused. They're seemingly talking about their jobs, nobody's taking them. And on the other hand, our unemployment rate is going up or down. How does it go? Up or down? Yeah. So Gary, straighten this out, honey.
Okay. The statistics that I've gotten come from phillyworks.org, and from 16 years of age and upward or in the workplace and various zip codes, there's 20,000 um, as of April 20th, 21 from that www.phillyworks.org, and it's broken down to zip codes. And some of the zip codes that are mentioned are where the high crime is. So it has a lot of association with being unemployed to the crime that's happening throughout the city of Philadelphia. So if people want to know information on these statistics, they can go to www.philaworks, works.org. So the reason that we're talking about this subject is because of the fact that the young people that are out in the streets are causing harm to themselves because they're not employed, they're not in school, but that's another subject matter. But what we're dealing with now is how they're getting monies. So how are they going to be able to get monies if they are unemployed and there's no jobs hiring them? And I know that there are signs in stores that I've seen traveling around where they've been having, we're hiring, but I think these youth feel like there's a quicker way to make a faster buck by being in the streets doing unscrupulous things to make money instead of uh, going to a job because they don't want to take $11 an hour because the minimum wage is still at $11 an hour for most jobs. So instead of moving it to $15 an hour, which would enhance someone wanting to work, they decide to take to the streets. So this is the issue with the unemployment.
Well, you guys are out there more than we women, although Kathy is out quite a bit, but I don't get around too much. But I see where the rates have gone up in most places. So what's holding the kids back?
One of the issues that are currently going on, Ms. Trudy, is, and it directly affects unemployment, is the pandemic, and the government was giving away so much money during the pandemic that it encouraged people not to work. Those benefits, those unemployment, the extra $300 to $700 a week that people were getting in unemployment benefits are set to expire at the end of September. And we will see what happens to the unemployment rate then, because many people who have had the benefit of the pandemic benefits will be, their benefits run out, and let's see, will they return to the workforce?
Okay, now,
I see this.
Trudy,
Go ahead.
Trudy, I don't mean to cut you off,
Yeah.
but here we go again. Here we go again. I'm still in my prison shirt now. But here we go again. We're blaming the victims of the systems. It's not just a matter, in my opinion, of unemployment, it's underemployment that both Gary and Jerome talked about. And
Correct.
if you're living by the zip codes where the poverty in these communities is the highest, and I taught in Southwest Philadelphia, then the conditions are more exaggerated and exacerbated to fill the job markets available within the prison systems. So, where you find the most of the crime and everything, it's because the system is there to keep you within that certain caste system. If I keep you poor, I control you. If I control how much money it costs for you to buy food, if I tell you don't grow this, if you want to work with the United States, once you take over the economic systems of a community, the educational systems of a community, the health systems of a community. You control the community. We need to stop blaming the kids on the streets. They're not doing anything different than the corporations that their fathers or mothers. I don't even want to even want to place their parents within the prison system. I don't know who out there has family members in the jail system, but they are all working. And until you empty the prisons and get rid of these systems, nothing's really going to change too much, because prisons didn't really even come into existence until after the Civil War, when African Americans were free, when Africans were freed from enslavement. That's when the prison system began to boom. In the
Okay.
1970s, the G7, that's what also happened, Gary. But who's
Yeah.
going to work for $11? $50 isn't enough.
That's
How is
the that's the
$15
that's
enough?
that is the thing. So here's the thing. So let's take a zip code. In zip code 19146, African Americans comprise of 53% of the populations, while Caucasians comprise of 37%. So that's 13,000 souls amongst those other things. The influx of Caucasian professionals into Grays Ferry area, where the townhouses and condominiums have been built, and they offered like 10-year tax abatement programs. So when someone's moving into your neighborhood and you're being filtered out to another neighborhood where it's even more deprived, so I mean, where are you going to go for the jobs? I could see if the construction industry had said, you know what, we're moving into this neighborhood, and the city politicians I blame also, because if they know that this neighborhood is being rebuilt and the people going to be forced out, then why did they provide jobs for these youngsters that could train them? You know, there's
Why would they?
well, they need
Why
to.
would
This is the
they?
thing. Yeah, but
But
this
why
is the
would
thing
they?
because
Catholic,
If doing that means they're preserving the system. Think
yeah,
systems thinking. It's systems thinking, Gary.
I
Everything you're saying
understand.
is true, but those are the symptoms of the system. So what do you
You,
So
have to do?
Kathy, you're very definite about the system, and I can understand that. But we have to find ways to beat the system, or to try to beat it at least. We can't just stand by and say that's the system. We have to do something about it. So let's talk about a little bit what we can do. Where can we go for
Well,
these jobs? How
go
should we
after
apply
start
for these jobs?
start your own financial systems.
well,
We
well,
need
what
to
I would
support
do
our financial systems. Go ahead, Gary.
what
What
I
would you
would
do?
do is I would empower the young people to march in the street with signs
man.
saying that they need jobs.
Here we
I
go
mean,
again. Here we
you
again.
know,
Here we
well
go
that
again.
I
But here we
mean,
go again.
it's not like
We shall
marching,
overcome.
but
It's
it's not
always
like
in the
marching
future
never.
tense.
Yeah, but
Get
it's
rid
not
of the
like marching
song.
never worked.
Get rid of the
It's not.
song, Gary. Every
Yeah,
time we say
but
we shall overcome, that means we ain't there yet. Say
well,
we have
we're not
overcome.
there. We're not
Yes,
there.
we
That's why
are.
we're having this
If we see
conversation.
ourselves there, yes, we are. Stop singing "We Shall Overcome."
Now,
Marching for what?
yeah.
You're going to
Well,
But
march
it's for
to
what's the
open up
jobs.
a new
It's for
alternative?
banking
jobs.
system. Take
It's for
that
What's
jobs.
the
It's
stimulus
just
money
like
alternative?
and open up black banks that I can go take a loan from. And that's what I would do with with the stimulus money and with that, what's that, restructured money? I forgot what Biden's calling it. I forgot. My mind had a brain. I got confused in my
Infrastructure
own
money.
brilliance.
yeah.
There you go.
Well,
We
you
want
still
black
have to
banks in
you
our
still have
community. We want black banks, not just black
yeah.
businesses. We want black banks. We
But
want
you still
black
have to
financial
organize. You still have
institutions.
to organize. And one way to
It's already
organize is to
organized.
get the people together and you have to take to the streets because you can't sit on your
Nah,
laurels and expect things to change. So you have to take to the streets. If you don't take to the streets, they're gonna think, oh, they don't care. Oh, we keep doing what we're doing. The system can continue to run amok because they're
It is.
not
Gary,
That's
seeing
what
I
us.
it's
agree.
They're
do.
not yeah.
You know,
Go ahead,
the success that
Jerome.
black people have experienced in this country did not come from marching in the streets. It came from building our own systems, as Kathy Lee has said. When we had Black Wall Street and we had black communities all over the country excelling, it was because black people had no alternative but to support their own business, educate their own kids. And until we are educating our children and supporting our own businesses, and our businesses are the ones that hire black people, not the system. The system wants to keep you underemployed or unemployed.
Right. And Jackie
So I
Robinson
don't,
broke the color barrier.
Okay,
All the
so
Negro
what's
leagues
this?
collapsed.
So what's the starting point
yeah, he
of
put more blacks
becoming?
out of work than they got jobs.
Yeah, because you stated that the unemployment is going to end. Well, this show is September. Okay, we're it's going to end. Period. Whatever date is going to end, it's going to be over. So, what's going to happen after this last check? People get that they're probably going to blow anyhow, maybe, possibly, or there's some people that are going to be saving their money because they know that it's the last check. It's just like getting welfare, it's the same thing. So what are they gonna do with this money that they collect on the last check? How are they gonna make that last? Are they gonna be going back to the work world, or are they gonna just try to figure out another way? What do you think?
Well,
Well,
What's
a
gonna
Gary,
happen?
significant portion of them are going to go back to the workforce.
And
So
make that
how
eleven
significant?
dollars an hour. And make that
Yeah,
eleven
well,
dollars
some
an
places
hour.
are already
$11
raising
an
it.
hour is not going to stay.
okay. Now let me kick it up a notch now, because right now I'm just into the systems thinking thing. Who is pushing the people back to work? Who wanted a steak and a chicken and a pork chop that said all those people that worked in those meat factories, they're usually immigrants, they're underemployed, and they're foreigners, and they're just the people within communities that do not have a lot of political power or sway. Because someone wanted a steak, they said open up the meat factories and send them people in there to cut my meat. I don't care if they drop dead from COVID, they sent them in there anyway. Now, what they're going to do is cut off the money. Why? Because they want these people. You can't sit home and collect money. You're sitting home, Tucker Carlson, and collecting money. Go eat a frozen TV dinner. Give out your frozen TV dinners. Why are we worrying about what to do with their own money? I'm not going to tell someone what to buy with their food stamps. That's called freedom. It's called freedom, folks. So if they've never had anything, if they don't understand financial literacy, so one of the things that I would say is you need to go back to educating people how to live debt free, how to manage money. But if you've never had money to manage, how the freak you think they're going to manage the freaking money? I'm not poor. I'm not wealthy. I'm not rich, but I'm comfortable. And I'm still scratching my head on how to balance my checkbook. But if you need things, if you've never had things, Gary, people are going to go out and buy it. Everybody's worrying about what they're going to do when they get their last check. We are survivors. What they need to do is go out there and make sure they get some more checks. What they need to do is negotiate. And what the workers are doing now, they're saying, I'm not going back to that job when I can move up and get a better paying job. That's what they're doing. They have more political power now during this pandemic than they did before the pandemic. So I say squeeze the work, squeeze the corporations into paying them more. And guess what? They're finding out when they pay the people more, the people go back to work.
Yeah, that's
I'm
the
just
ticket.
saying.
That's the ticket. That is the ticket. But are they going to
And
use what they have in their hand? Like Adam Clayton Powell said, use what you have in your hand. That was his famous statement that he used to use. Use what you have in your hand. Are they going to use what they have in their hand or in their brain
Add
or
their head
whatever
too.
they
Add their
and that
head
yeah,
too.
their
Thank you,
brain,
Gary.
their
Thank you,
brain,
Gary.
right. Mm-hmm.
well,
Jerome?
again, if we used our money to support black businesses, you go into the black community, there are all kinds of businesses. There are Chinese restaurants, there are bodegas, there are check cashing places, and none of them are owned by blacks, but we support them. So people have been coming into the black community and extracting the resources for a while. Until we start supporting our own black businesses, people are going to be coming into our community and exploiting it and taking out the resources.
Now, see,
The
you're saying
perception is that
exploiting. I disagree with the word exploiting. I really do. They are, see, to me, what they do, my understanding of what they do, and I apologize, Jerome, for cutting you off, but what they do, my understanding is my other daughter is Laotian. They get together, they pool their money, they buy, and they open up a business. That's how they do it. They live in the same house, they pool their money. We've lost, some of us have lost that ability. When before integration came, like you said before, and Gary and Trudy said, everything was self contained within it. And
Correct.
then once integration came, it just exploded and pushed us all apart. And,
Mhm.
the whole expression about Black people can't own anything, I really believe the origins of that expression has to come from when the race riots happened during the turn of the beginning of the century. When you own something, you aren't allowed to own it. How dare you rise above that caste system? You're being uppity if you own the business. And then we don't value the businesses that we have. We're not valuing it. We don't value it. And so what we need to do is, once again, observe, don't hate. They're working within a caste system where they make sure they're not at the bottom of the well. And so what we need to do is take the bottom of the well, fill it with water so it's at the bottom, rises to the top, like we always have.
You know, Kathy Lee, you're absolutely right, and you alluded to the Red Summer 100 years ago. 100 years ago, during the Red Summer, there were many, many riots. There were almost between 40 and 45 cities that they were riots in America. But the majority of those riots were white people going into the Black community and destroying it.
Mhm.
Because Black people knew that they have to be independent and they have to be self-sufficient. But as they became more and more self-sufficient in America, Black Wall Street wasn't the only place that there was destruction. It happened in many other cities around the country. And Black people who had to resolve themselves to be self-sufficient, white people went in and destroyed many of those communities. And so we have to
I,
get back to that. We have to become self-sufficient again. We have to support our own
I,
businesses and educate our own children.
All
mm,
right.
I walked.
Supporting.
I walked. Okay, sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Uh, I walked through South Street yesterday, and I had heard in Philadelphia, and I'm not from Philadelphia originally, that South Street used to be one of the strips that a lot of Black businesses and Black business owners controlled. South Street and Center City, Philadelphia.
How far back was
It,
that?
it, it was maybe
Because I
Jesse
saw a lot of
Smith,
30,
stuff
30,
Jesse
going down.
Smith.
30, 30, 30 years ago, maybe not even that far back.
Uh, I'm going to help
No,
you
No, it
no,
out,
was going
no.
Gary.
back
South
to
Street was a lot of Italian,
Well,
Irish, and
for in the
anything else.
50s,
But
South.
I
I'm talking
found one
South
black
Street.
business in South Street.
Keep going back
Uh,
further. Go back
a little
further.
further.
We're talking
Okay.
about the
Well,
19
anyhow,
the great after during the
Go
Great
ahead.
Migration
What's your
time.
point?
But
okay.
there were
So
always
right.
Africans
even
down that area.
right, and what I'm saying in essence is that what happened. So can that be?
Gentrification happened.
Well, I
Well,
still see a lot of Black
listen,
businesses there, but the mere fact that, yeah, gentrification is a part of it. So, what is it that makes us give up our properties when we know we got something? So, why do we try to reinvent the wheel when we could uh,
all right.
just do the
May
same
I
thing that we've
interject
been
here for
doing?
a moment? You mentioned in your discussion, folks, three things that are standing out. The first one, of course, is education. We just throw things away without looking into them, without thinking about them, without improving our knowledge about it. So that's one very important element. The second thing you've talked about is walk. Make yourself known. Say it out loud. Okay? And the third thing that you've mentioned is to support our own businesses. I would like to start right there. Where are our own businesses today? Jerome, you mentioned those, and I think you have a good idea, but where are they?
Hmm.
And in various sectors, there is a Black-owned business. There's a Black-owned bank in Philadelphia. Um, there are Black
Yes, yes.
providers of healthcare in Philadelphia.
The Black, wait,
Um,
let's go to that first one because that's important. The black-owned business still exists on Broad. It still
Well,
exists
the
on
Yeah.
Broad. It used to have branches. I don't know if they do now.
United
well,
Bank still exists.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. The United Bank, that's on Broad, but they don't have branches anymore, do they?
Well, they sure they have one down on 15th Street, right above Chestnut.
I don't remember I don't remember that. I'll look into that. But anyway, it's a good idea. We don't even bank with the one that we have.
yeah.
No,
But
you
in
But
got
look how
but
we
in,
were
Capital
all
One and
stumped. Look
Chase.
how we were
Everybody.
all stumped. We look like deers in the headlight when you ask where are the black businesses. I'll be very look full disclosure. I know where there is some, but when you look at what Gary was talking about, South Street, Lombard, that's where Fortune lived. That's where all your free Africans live down in that ward. That's where they were. That's where Mother Bethel is. All of that stuff is down there. There have always been African Americans down there. But when you look at here's what I've learned. When they start changing of where you live, they start changing the people. And a little known historical fact, because I'm gonna lead into this. What happens when they gentrify a community? They know years in advance what they're going to do. Just like there's an expression called the fourth grade failure syndrome. They know if a child of color is not a proficient time he's 4, the next they're dusting its chair off for a prison seat. They understand that. That's part of what they're doing. With all of the businesses and everything that we're talking about now, they already know 30, 40, 50 years down the road how they're going to move these people out because real estate is always about 3 words: location, location, location. So they know 60 years in advance. What they need to do is get our hands on the plans, see what the plans are, and teach us to value where we live. But when you had redlining that depleted the houses and let them depredate and just fall apart, Gary, that's what happened to a lot of the black business and no open those cities. They just redline could not get any loan, fix your property or anything. That's what happened to them. That's my understanding. Now, I'm sure there are other mitigating factors, but to me, that's basically what happened to a lot of the black business. Because just ride the R7 and you ride through North Philly. When those African Americans moved in there from after World War II, all of those were manufacturing jobs. They shut them all down and moved them all south. So you
well,
have to look why. The question is, why did they do it? It's to
yeah,
preserve their own wealth and the system.
right. And right, and we need to know that. But the thing is that just like let's take for instance, there's a documentary in Jamaica in the Caribbean. It's called Life and Debt, DEBT, right? What happened? The farmers were farming the land and they were providing the food for the population, but America started sending in goods that were 5 cents less than the
Yep,
goods
there you
that the
go.
farmers were producing in Jamaica. And the people, the population of the people that were black bought the goods that was imported because it was 5 cents less. So the
Yeah.
farmers had to flush down their milk down the drains and all the things that they farmed, they had to get rid of because they were going to spoil. And that was the devaluation of Jamaica's culture right
That's
there.
what they
That's an
always
example.
do. That's what you're
What
right.
we have
Gary, I'm glad you brought that up because that's what they do. Go ahead, Trudy. It's your
now, unfortunately, we're gonna have to wrap it up, and I want your final thoughts. But education keeps. When I say education, everybody starts thinking about going to school. No, there are places like we have a radio station, WRT. We have newspapers still, but I don't see our people using those things. Scoop and Tribune, and we have other sources that we get information. And Kathy, I know you know some of those sources. Run them out.
well. I'll talk about the radio stations. The black-owned radio stations or minority-owned radio stations are being decimated. They're all being bought up, and people are being pushed out. And the same thing
Well,
with
they didn't buy up
with television.
WRT yet.
Well, okay, so Okay, so that now you're talking about the media system again, the media industry. So
We
we
have to
just
find
need
a way
to.
to educate.
But
You know,
there's
Well,
one
another
of the things that
station.
one of the things I mention oftentimes is education. And I don't mean just general education, I mean specifically education, financial literacy, and education on how to grow and own our own businesses, whether that
right.
business is farming or manufacturing or transportation, until we become self sufficient. You know, and again, it's about education, man. You learn that stuff not in high school, you learn it starting at 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 years old. Financial literacy is not something that you wait to learn when you're about 25. You need to learn it at about 8 or 9 or 10, you know, because whether you like it or not, you're part of the system, as Kathy Lee has talked about. And the way to break
Well,
the
You are.
system is to start through, literacy and learning,
Well,
education, and educate
let
our
me
own
say
people.
this.
That's the key.
Education is very important. We're going to have to do it. We're going to have to talk about it more in those shows that'll be coming up Wednesday at 7:30, 5:30. Be there. We'll see you with Trudy and Friends.
Cut.
I was going to say study Booker T. Washington and Marcus Garvey.
Or read a book called
We need
Living
a
in a Village.
All right.
global
Put those
approach.
down. Put those down
Okay,
and
but we
we'll
need a
bring them up
global
again.
approach. We need to
Well,
all be, remember, we are all Africans. We need to have a global. That's
Yeah,
why
yeah.
put
they
those
started
down. But
squashing Pan
And
Well, yeah. There's a
wait, let me
there's a
just say something,
there's a
Gary. Gary, hold up. So when we start rapping, by the time you get that 4 minute cue, know that your most important things are, and you want to get it in. That's the time to get it in. We got to start rap. We start rapping, and we got to roll it up, wrap it up, and start putting in your here's your final words right then. By the time Trudy says, "What's your final thoughts?" we were down to a minute, so there's not enough time. So we got to start wrapping it up. By the time we get to 4 minutes, and maybe some of these topics, like this is another topic. We did the whole show with this, which was great. So but when we start to wrap it up, we're talking for 26 minutes. When we start to wrap it up, that's when your final thoughts kick in. So we can get out on time.
you all are swinging.
But that was great. It was great conversation. Thank you.
You all are swinging.
Uh,
okay.
I'm
There,
learning.
there is a
great
book called
job,
Living.
guys.
Yeah.
Great
Great job.
job, guys.
Yay. Do the
Gary, there's
Rocky.
a
Do the Rocky.
documentary. Hey, Gary, there's a documentary also, if you can catch on Jamaica, about Cockpit County, where the
Okay.
mining companies are.
Okay.
Jamaica produces most of the aluminum, and it's
Yeah.
being mined for aluminum, but they want to take over Cockpit County, where the white folks went in, but they didn't come out, where the runaways went.
Yeah.
And
Right.
there's a group of people that are ancestors that are descendants of uh, those people. Just watch that. But High on a Hog, I
Yeah.
love that show. I love
Yeah.
that show. Oh, that was
Yeah. Hi.
fabulous.
Okay,
Where's it
you
come
guys.
on?
Next
We're
week
talking
we
High
about
on a
have
doing a
Hog.
part two.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
we
glad because
have
that was fabulous.
Yeah.
what?
Yeah. Yeah.
You
High
both
on a
Part two
have
for
Hog.
the
been fabulous.
for the
Both of
unemployment.
them have been fabulous. And both of them have
Yeah.
been. And if listen, it's your show. So if you want to start with that next week, then let me know.
Yeah, we
Just say
might
you
have to
want
do
to.
Who are
part
you,
two.
who are
We
you
might have
talking
to do
to?
a part two for both of the shows
But
we did
the thing
today.
that the main thing that has come out of this one particularly is education. Because if you don't know,
Hmm.
like Kathy was saying, if you don't know how to do your finances, that's part of education. That doesn't mean going to school. Okay, so how do we get that, Kathy? Somebody in the family
Well,
has
I
to know that
said
there's
start your
something
own
in school.
educational systems. You have tax
Yeah, you
dollars.
have to. You have to. You have to start your
Yeah,
own educational system because their system is not going to teach you how to live. It's just not
Actually,
happening.
co-op the one they have, and you put the curriculum in that you want your kids to have.
well,
Right.
you
Don't
always
reinvent the
have
Yeah.
the
wheel. Just
system.
co-op
You're a
that.
system
But see,
guy.
then they got
Business is
people
Right.
in
co-op.
Harrisburg telling you what you can and cannot do. They have the Department of
Right.
Education. So, but
Right.
if the parents say, "Well, you're going to teach my child African American history in African history," or they're not walking into your schools, see, that's what to me. But marching, singing, "We shall overcome," we ain't never going to overcome as long as we don't see it. As long as we keep saying
Yeah.
"we shall," that's in the future.
Yeah.
Let's live in the present. We have overcome. But when you know you've overcome, you don't have to look back because there's no back. Stay in the present. We shall overcome. Every time I
You
hear that
got to
song, I
get
go, well,
guidelines.
when? When?
You have to get
When? It's
guidelines.
crazy.
Well,
You
It's
have to get
they're
crazy.
guidelines.
busy in the educational system. They're so busy trying to give our kids Thorazine and all kinds of chemicals to say that Johnny is crazy. Why is Johnny running around the room? That's because he drank some red juice that had bunch of sugar in it this morning. They got rid of the red juices at one point. They had to take them off the market because people complain about it. So action does work, because I remember that times when they had those little jars of blue and red and all kinds of sugars, and the parents would give that to Johnny before he went to school in the morning. Next thing you
Because
know,
it was, you
Johnny's
know
zooming
why?
around the room.
But Gary, I'm gonna tell you why. Because for that
Mm-hmm.
25 cents, that kid got a hug and a snack.
Mm-hmm.
Because a hug was not doesn't cost money. To buy a bottle of juice costs $2. So if you're trying to get your kid some kind of snack to go to school with, you're gonna go where your pocketbook is. And when you're underemployed, that's what they do. And so I actually had a African American principal question why I had a bowl of apples and fruit in my classroom. And the kid would walk by, open the door, and they would just point, and I'd nod, and they'd take an apple and go out. As long as they knew the rules, throw it in the trash when you're
Mm-hmm.
done. Don't leave it on the floor. Do you know
Mm-hmm.
I got yelled at for doing that?
Yeah.
And yet
Oh yeah.
all the other classrooms had potato chip bags, juice hugs, all kinds of trash from when they come in with the little bags. So now what do they
Mm-hmm.
do? Now they stop the kids coming in the door. They take out their snack bags and throw them in the trash that the kids, bought to eat because they don't like the school lunch because they know it's not real food. And
Mm-hmm.
so now you're penalizing the kids for eating what they can afford. And it's the sugar is killing us. Sugar and dairy
Oh
is
yeah.
killing us.
Oh
And they
yeah.
want to give you the milk because the dairy companies were collapsing. And that's why milk it makes a body good. Beef, everybody loves beef.
Well,
I
that's the
always
same.
taught my students to ask why are they pushing that on you? Who is pushing it on you? What is the outcome of them doing it?
Mm-hmm.
That's the
Yeah.
rule. Those are
Yeah.
the three rules. Who, why,
Yeah.
when. Well, the three W's. Who, what, why, how, when. Why,
Mm-hmm.
why. Always ask why. One
Yeah.
kid said, "You make
Well.
me think too much. I can't take it."
Well, they have to think because it's their future. I mean, when we're pushing up daisies, they're gonna have to take our place. So we got to educate them in some form of
I
fashion and keep
beg to
them
differ
aware.
with you. If when I push anything up, it's going to be an African violet because we need to start thinking
Oh,
globally.
well, African
We
violet.
need to stop seeing ourselves as a minority. We are not a minority. That
Yeah.
is a
No,
myth.
we're the majority. That definitely. That word, I don't
We
even
make
like that
up
word, minority.
we
I
make up
hate that word because
99.9% of the world's population.
it's definitely
That's
demeaning to
where we
make you
are.
think that you're less than someone else by using the word minority. And people fall for it because when they have a box on the application, it say minority group, and you automatically check the box. I never did check the box. And
Because
then
what's
they had the
happening to them?
box. Yeah.
They're
And
freaking
then
out.
I,
They're
and then,
freaking out now
yeah,
because their numbers are down. That's why they don't want abortion. They're freaking out.
right.
We're going to be the
Yeah.
minority. We don't want to be the
Yeah.
minority. Oh my
Yeah.
God, we're the
Yeah.
minority. Oh
Yeah.
please, no, I don't want to be the
Yeah.
minority
Well,
because
well, now
look what
now they're
look.
pushing 2 and 3 kids in a stroller around now. They are.
Well, they can do whatever they want to
They're,
do, as far as I'm concerned. And now that they cut out
they
abortion, now that they cut out abortion in Texas, it just means more Mexican babies, more African American babies, because the people that can still get the abortion are going to be their people that can afford to get them. So, I
right.
mean, you want
Yeah.
to get your number, see, but you
It's
have to
all
look.
coming. It's all happening.
Everything's a
It's
system,
happening.
Gary.
Yeah.
Everything is a system.
Yeah.
When your body's out of whack, when your immune system's out of whack, you collapse. When your circulatory system's out of whack, you collapse. So we have to understand systems thinking as 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 a people But even in the education, everything is a system. I don't care what the hell it is. It's a system.
Yeah.
And all the problems in this country go back to this system.
Hmm.
Nothing in
But
this
it's
country was
interesting.
designed for African people. It was designed for white
But
Anglo-Saxon Protestant
but the
people.
system. But if you look at it, this system really is designed for us because it's affecting us more.
It's designed,
So
okay, but
yeah.
I agree with what you're saying, but but say it was designed for us, but not by us, to
Right. There you go. There you
to
go. That's
benefit
what I mean.
to benefit other
To
people,
benefit
to
others.
benefit the
Other.
designers.
Right. Yeah.
Because look what,
Well, you
because
know,
with
And it,
Afghanistan,
it has
we don't have
benefited the
anything.
listen,
designers very well.
Right.
what'd you say,
And
Jerome?
I said it has
our
benefited
issue.
the designers of the system very well because they are
Right.
able
Oh, and
to
it's
extract from the black community over $1 trillion worth of resources every single year.
Right.
like I
But
said,
you
Those
know,
Reed
$1 trillion
Garvey.
easily reinvested in the black community. Instead, the money that black folks get is going out pretty quick, fast, and in a hurry.
I think we need think
Bo,
tanks. I think we need our own think tanks. See,
We got
we
plenty of
got
those.
plenty of think tanks, but they're not ours. Think
well, you
tanks are
call
the
them
We
ones
think
that
got plenty
tanks.
of
prepare.
black people.
Yeah.
How
Well,
about our
that's
own? How about Gary? How about our
yeah.
own systems analysts groups?
Right. Well, yeah.
Because that's how you
Something
design
to
the
that.
system.
Right. 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 Something like that. Yeah, we need that. All
That
right.
see, woo! I gotta go.
Yeah.
I'm just
Yeah,
saying.
we gotta go. Yeah, we'll talk later. Have a good one. Enjoy,
All right,
everybody.
Another
All right,
Bye
TV
bye.
thanks.
working.
Okay.
That analyst idea was a good one.
You can't hear you. Shut
Okay.
everything off. Say goodbye.
Wait a minute.
How do you close out? How do you come out? Oh.
Well,
All you
The
gotta do is
phone.
hit that little
Yeah.
red button.
okay.
All right, folks.
Thank you.
Is there a light up there somewhere? Yeah, I don't know where that is. Where did you get that light?
Right here, it's on the side.
Oh.